Good morning everyone, today we're checking out a brand new video from Josh Culture about the top 10 villain protagonists? That's right, we'll be looking at 10 games where we play as the villains. Let's hop in.
This video is brought to you by Redneck Engineer, custom-built gaming PCs and parts for an affordable price. Use code JoshScorcher at checkout for a 5% discount. And make sure you don't have any coupon clipping extensions like Honey installed or I don't get my commission. Thank you!
The protagonist,
Alright, here we go.
the leading character of the story, fights against the antagonist. But the protagonist is not always the hero, nor is the antagonist always the villain. Villain protagonists offer us a completely different experience, the chance to fully immerse ourselves in the baddie who takes joy in their evil deeds. Video games in particular have incredible potential when it comes to villain protags, since the player can be the one who commits the atrocities. Now, the line between dark anti-hero and light villain protagonist is pretty blurry, so here's our definition. For starters, the character must not be villainous by the player's choice. If there's any kind of good hero route, they're disqualified. As for the criteria, there's a bit. How much harm, intentionally or otherwise, do they cause? How much of said harm do we participate in as the player? How despicable of a person are they? If they're a bad guy killing worse guys, they'll place a little lower. With that out of the way, let's dive in.
Alright. Yes, this video of his did come out in October, but that doesn't matter. Let's just enjoy it, okay, people? Alright, here we go. Number 10. Oh, right, that's the transition between them. Still, on to number 10.
So, picture this. What if you play a Pikmin game, but the captain is evil?
You're already massacring habitats and depriving infants away from their guardians in these games just to collect money.
Okay, a Pikmin game, but you're conquering the world.
Pikmin gradually becomes an invasive species as the series goes.
Ow! Pikmin?
Ow!
But high fantasy!
Close enough.
Overlord is a tactical action adventure where you command an army of goblins to bring down entire enemy factions and subject commoners under your brutal rule. You play as the titular Overlord, a silent conqueror who's presumably restored after his defeat by the hands of the 7 heroes. You set off on a journey of retribution by raising a whole new army and track down each of these heroes to defeat them and take what was...
What I do actually know about this game is that at some point you like club baby seals or something. I'm saying supposedly, because I don't honestly know. I've never played it, but it is on my watch list.
Once theirs. Now, this all seems well and fine since...
Yes, watch, not play.
A lot of these heroes aren't exactly great people to begin with, but aside from their armies and some monsters, civilians are on the menu as well. It's up to you to either earn the respect or take their lives, burn down the crops, and steal their gold up to your corruption level. The higher your corruption, the more sinister you look. Literally or farming before it was cool. Adding on to that, you can also go to hell.
Wow, that's mean.
Of course, for more power, the Overlord can make the heroes suffer even more in the abyss through the Raising Hell expansion pack. Going from using Melvin like a breaker ball to torturing Oberon with a theater show of his demise. At the end of the journey, you get to take down the god of the abyss and become its ruler yourself, opening a path for the sequel where your spawn would take your place as a new Overlord of the living world. The scale of the Overlord's evil deeds are very much dependent on how far you'd go. Otherwise, you're mostly taking down enemies that are just as bad, if not worse than yourself, which is why he's not any higher. Still, it's fun to see how much the game lets you decide what kind of evil you want to be. Are you satisfied with earning acclaim for your own self-fulfillment, or do you just want to watch the world burn? In the end, it's your conquest to do with as you please.
Well, we move on to number 9. It's...
Everyone loves a power fantasy. Part of the appeal of playing as the bad guy is seeing an unassuming and vulnerable populace and just go into town, causing chaos wherever you go. And who is more vulnerable than Cold War-era United States? Those silly humans fearing atomic Armageddon from their neighbors. The real evil comes from the stars. Destroy all humans, a title that tells you humans. Destroy all of them. With all your wacky alien powers and tech you could ask for, and your protagonist is just one in a long line of your...
It's just simply destroy all humans!
Clones ready to harvest some human brains. humans. Cryptosporidium 137, or Crypto, is just the protagonist you'd expect for a game like this. He's crass, selfish, and more importantly, very much on board with killing humans just for kicks. Oh,
and his boss is voiced by Zim.
Sure, he's from a dying race and all, but luckily for him, humans have some Furon DNA in them after one of them got busy with an alien in ancient times. So that's up to Crypto and his totally non-Zim boss to do some good old-fashioned probing and organ harvesting. Playing as Crypto lets you do all the classic alien tropes and then some. Abducting people in mass destruction with the UFO? Yep. Body snatching and subtly weaving your way into human society? Also, yep.
Sweet.
Oh, for guns! Oh, these guns! Lasers, telekinesis, meteor showers, black holes! The puny humans...
And don't forget the probe! Yes, it was literally a gun that probes people.
Military is no match for him, and all the while he's right there with you, snarking how stupid humans are and how fun this game is.
The villagers, the urbanites, the police, the ninjas.
Wait a minute, ninjas? They got ninjas in 1969?
Go with it. Who doesn't love ninjas?
By Game 2, Crypto's usurped the president of the USA and is now against the KGB, who are working with Martians to destroy the Earth. Crypto opposes, of course, but not out of the goodness of his heart. Oh, no. But because if the Earth is destroyed, then who will we probe now? Priorities. Crypto's as much a joy to play as is the destruction he spreads. Sure, he doesn't really have any deep motivations for what he does, but really, does that matter? Not to Crypto.
Not technically.
And we wouldn't have him any other way.
Alright, we move on to number 8.
For this next history, I'm going to talk about Nefarious.
They didn't do anything!
No, not the horror movie made by the God's Not Dead filmmakers. I'm talking about the Metroidvania where the princess is kidnapped by you. The character that you play as in this Metroidvania satire of games like Mega Man and Mario. I mean, the hero's arc is the whole "I got to save the princess" thing, only he breaks up with her before Crow can battle him. Wow.
Wow.
Good move, man.
Well,
but at least Crow gets to kidnap all the princesses he wants, and he gets to do it all with his sick arsenal of mechanical weaponry. Right away, Crow gives off major cartoon villain energy. It's like if Lord Crumps lost some weight and upgraded his charisma. He's got some hilarious banter with his assistant Becky, his robot minions, the heroes, the princesses he captures, and even other villains that he goes toe-to-toe with. All of this would be very nice to read and laugh at if you weren't busy trying to fight way too many enemies at once. With Nefarious being a fairly traditional Metroidvania, just with the roles reversed, we get a peek as to what it's like to be the boss in a boss fight. Yeah, you heard me. This game has reverse boss fights. And believe me when I say that these fights are both awesome and very creative. Even some of them make you want to pull your hair out. Walk under the robot fist! Despite all these cartoony villain tropes, the game does offer a bit more depth to his character than one might expect. At one point, Princess Mayapple attempts to appeal to him, saying that this route he's taking is one that will ultimately end in him being alone. Nefarious presents this idea that villains are similar to heroes and that they just want to make the world a better place. It's not that sometimes there are actions that villains make that are ultimately what make them villainous. Oh, hi, Julia Salisbury, when'd you get here? Asking these questions are what make Crow more than just a one-dimensional cartoon villain. The game gives you a choice on whether to go through with his plan for world domination or to release all the princesses and start a new adventure with his assistant Becky, who's implied to have a crush on him. I was expecting that. Overall, Crow's a hilarious villain protag that perfectly captures what it's like to be on the other side of the hero's journey, while also helping the player to expand their definition of what can be considered a villain. Is it an outdated subjective ideal, or is it the perfect description for our dastardly Crow? Regardless, he's the bad guy, and he's loving it. Now, if only he was stronger at the start of the game, so I wouldn't keep dying and losing my coins. Sorry. Positive countdown. Crow is awesome.
Alright, and we move on to number 7. It's
The Witch's House is a game with a seemingly straightforward premise. You play as a young girl, Viola.
Oh, yeah.
It's exploring the titular house for something that will let you escape the surrounding woods. Good luck trying to do that with all the stuff trying to murder you, though. At the top, you come...
Yeah, there's actually some channel on here, I can't exactly remember the name, but the guy goes through, RPG Maker games like this one, and tells you, the lore, the story, what happens during the gameplay, and the secrets. And so, I'd actually recommend finding him. He's really great. He even did the Crooked Man series.
Come across Ellen, a witch with her legs and eyes gouged out who is dead set on chasing you. Thankfully, Viola manages to escape and leave the woods as a whole. Then her father shows up and kills Ellen for good. All's well that ends well. But if you get the true ending, things take a very different turn. Long story short, you were actually playing as Ellen in Viola's body the whole time. Ooh. Shortly before the game began, Viola met Ellen. Ellen was a seemingly innocent sick girl who was confined to her bed. Viola agreed to a deal where they would switch bodies for one day. Shortly before switching, Ellen completely mutilated herself to put Viola through as much pain as possible. Keep in mind that since Viola would be in a witch's body, she'd effectively be immortal. So all those things in the house trying to kill you actually had a good reason all along. And Viola's only the latest of the hundreds of people that Ellen has slaughtered. She claims it's to cure her sickness when it's blatantly obvious she's just a sadistic psycho. Of course, that's nothing compared to the absolute horror of how 1-bit was censored in the manga. I thought censorship was supposed to make things less effed up.
Oh. Yeah, that's something, I guess. Well, on to number 6. It's...
Personally speaking for a moment here, you guys should know by now that I'm kind of a goody two-shoes in terms of how I play games. Give me options
a lot of people
and I'll usually do the right thing, so the less serious, go crazy and embrace evil type of villain protagonist really doesn't speak to me as much as the more tragic or seriously portrayed examples. That said,
what, you doing like
one
Infamous?
example with a bit of column A and column B. Shovel Knight, you know how good this game is, and its DLCs only add to the treasure trove of content this game has. You get 3 extra campaigns based on some of the game's rogue galleries, and one we're interested in today is the self-proclaimed King of Cards himself, King Knight. On the outset, King Knight is as silly as they come. He starts the adventure off living with his mother, with dreams/delusions of one day being a king. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. This is the earliest campaign in the timeline, so the Enchantress hasn't started building her Order of No Quarter yet. Instead, the plot revolves around Joustus, a new card game sensation sweeping the nation. Whoever defeats the 3 Joustus judges will be crowned King of Cards. And since King Knight really wants to be a king,
I will be a king.
He sets off on a quest to do just that. For the most part, the campaign doesn't take itself seriously at all. King Knight opts for defeating the 3 judges, all of whom are kings, literally, as in personally fighting them. He starts recruiting practically everyone in the kingdom to back his cause and gets a little flustered when his mother starts forming a relationship with an actual king. He even commands his army of pet rats like his subjects. He's just a comedic goober. How could anyone take this guy seriously? I'll get to the final level and it's revealed that the whole Joustus tournament was a sham, a ploy by who else but the Enchantress to seek out an enforcer for her budding plans. The title of King of Cards was nothing but a hoax. Everyone expects King Knight to do the right thing and strike her down, becoming a hero to all. But the Enchantress offers him a deal. Betray his friends and serve her, and she'll make him a real king. King Knight, as previously stated, really wants to be a king.
I will be a king.
So his choice is almost a foregone conclusion, even without considering what we know from the main game. He betrays everyone, even his own mother.
How could you?
And with that, the Enchantress's plans begin in full swing. This ending is a disheartening tragedy that contrasts with the tone of the entire DLC beforehand.
Damn.
And you know what? It works. The sad thing is, even if he didn't betray everyone, King Knight would still have likely become a king through inheritance anyway, since his mother was romantically interested in the very king of the castle he usurped. But no, King Knight, through his short-sighted arrogance, chose his path. He gained everything he wanted, a title and a gold-studded castle of his own, but is left completely and utterly alone. I feel bad for him, but, I mean, it's King Knight. Oh, he's a tragic figure, showing just how much power can corrupt, but also complete another clown, so props for realism.
Alright, we move on to number 5.
I don't know how you guys feel about RPG Maker games. Unless it's fully original, like the aforementioned Witch's House, the ones that just use stock assets tend to not get many eyes on them. Fortunately, we got a hidden gem among these, along with a protagonist worthy of the spotlight. In the game Umbral's Soul, you play as a dark mage named Pandora, who after having her family killed by a dark mage-fearing mob, became the servant and harbinger of a dark lord named Ragnarok. Simple premise.
Oh, come
your family was
on.
killed, and your fairy dark lord mother comes...
So, dude's name is literally Ragnarok. Your name is Pandora. Okay, what's next? Like, do we befriend a guy named Lucifer that just so happens to own a goat?
To help. After all, these evil, biased humans are to blame, believing the word of a goddess over a dark lord that killed thousands. How dare they?
You guys, how could you? But he totally did it!
He did it!
Well, it's a little more complicated. A little. 200 years of demonizing a whole group did in itself allow said hatred to fester and manifest. Something, violence breeds violence. It has to be this way. Of course, the Dark Mage Revolution spiel and sympathetic backstory can't excuse being a sadistic mass murderer. You do all the bad guy stuff like corrupting heroes, destroying entire towns, and declaring war on the world itself. No, that doesn't mean the entire world are hateful bigots. There are plenty of pure-hearted people who try to sympathize with you even if you are trying to kill each other. This sympathy just show more kind sides from Pandora, mostly in the interaction she has with the good guy priestess Serene, leading Pandora to spare Serene and her group on several occasions, much to the annoyance of Ragnarok. Pandora does learn to care more about her allies and show mercy to some of her enemies, but it doesn't stop her from sending the world into a deep darkness. Honestly, the ending wants me to see where things go next, but with the RPG Maker publishing site archived and no word from the creator in a few years, having a sequel seems unlikely. Still, Pandora's teeter between her past and tragedy makes for a good enough romp through this made RPG.
Alright, we move on to number 4. Hold on, before we actually continue on, I actually like how the transition between the numbers you see at first, 10 through 6, everything is going to the right, but all the enemies and even the attacks are moving backwards. But now, 5 to 1, and everything is going to the left, and all the enemies are moving, correct, moving forward. I wonder why that is. I already know the twist. I'm trying to be coy for you guys.
Live Alive, Ursted. Next entry.
Oh, well, that was short.
Whoa. Not so fast. You're really just gonna settle with that?
Look, man, I've said everything I can about Ursted and how great he is. No duh, he makes the list. But what else can I add? Oh.
The main of
I haven't talked about that yet. So to catch up to speed, those who are behind on my content, Live Alive has several stories featuring heroes of different eras taking down their respective incarnations of the demon Odio. In the 8th story, you're introduced to the knight Ursted. He has his whole life ahead of him, being an adorned hero betrothed to the kingdom's princess. But all that goes south when his friend Strabo schemes against him out of jealousy and used the demon's guise to abduct and torment the princess, as well as frame Ursted as a usurper. At the end of the journey, Ursted finally confronts and defeats Strabo, but it was all for naught. He has nowhere left to turn to as he's seen as the villain, his allies slain, and his love lost for good. The pressure, heartbreak, and despair drive the fallen knight into becoming a true vessel for the Demon King. Now, sure, the correct way to end the story is to defeat him with the heroes across time and free Ursted from his suffering. But, as a protagonist, you can take Ursted's journey even further. If you choose to play as Ursted in the final story, you take control of the fully demonized knight as he laments his desire to torment man for their sins. All he can pity left are his brothers, as he believes they are denied their purpose, and that man's ego lives on in their defeat. Ursted seeks to remedy this by taking hold of them through time and correcting their destinies, killing the heroes where they stand, so there will be no more light in their future. Once all is done, nothing is left. Ursted is free to roam a world of his design, a world where man is no more, where the only one left to suffer is him.
Oh, man.
As classic of a fallen hero as they come, Ursted blinds himself to untamed hatred, believing that if there's no justice for all his deeds, then no one else deserves it. You don't just
that is evil.
Follow him as a villain right off the bat. You experience his downfall. You witness the stoic, soft-spoken knight distorted to a furious destroyer with a haunting voice. And still, you can keep following him just to see how much farther down he'd fall. Tragically, all he wanted is to be believed in. But after all he's done, who's left to do so?
Believe in me! Believe!
Alright, and we move on to the bronze medal. Number 3 is...
A common sentiment you'll find when it comes to quote-unquote humanizing characters is that it makes them more sympathetic. After all, when we relate with what makes a character human, we can't help but put ourselves in their shoes. That isn't all there is to it, though. Humanization also shows how a character's terrible actions can reflect on the reality of people's nature. How a cycle of mistakes breed people who take the misery of others for granted, or justifying hurting others based on personal benefits and vendettas. After all, humanizing implies being human, and as you can see from history, humans aren't all good. This is what makes Andrew and Ashley Graves such interesting characters. The entirety of Andy Lately is about deconstructing the toxic sibling bond shared between one emotionally jaded subject of Stockholm Syndrome and one impulsive, obsessively dependent living burden. They do terrible things like killing people, eating them, and working together with demons, all to escape being hunted down by an ambiguous government force. From past to present, we see them fighting day in and out to cling to whatever precious thing they thought they had left. Andrew, for one, simply wanted to be normal. Despite the massive pressure and neglect his mother imposed onto him, he still yearns to be a mentally sound person with a healthy love life. But that's not really the case. Growing up enforced as his sister's only guardian, it's inevitable that he grow attached to her and would do anything to make sure they both survive together, whether he wants to or not. Trying to suppress that, he sought a romantic partnership with Julia, whom he thought he could love, but ultimately is just an item for him to use as an escape from his miserable routine. Ashley, on the other hand, came across as someone who's nothing short of unpleasant in every way, being so
this game is so weird
and tone deaf. No crime against nature escapes her if it means keeping Andrew by her side. But see, she's not some kind of demon child who can only do wrong. Growing up, she can develop more of a restraint so that she doesn't just blindly piss people off all the time. She has cognition, but without anyone to guide her positively, she's never going to shake off her old habits. Taking into account that she suffers from oppositional defiance disorder, and her attitude starts to make way too much sense. Across all the dysfunctional, bickering, and infighting, we see just how much they start to learn from each other. Andrew in particular becomes more and more cunning as he takes advantage of whatever attachment Ashley has in order to test her loyalty. And Ashley, while starting off as a carefree girl boss, becomes more vulnerable to the thought that Andrew could turn against her and gravely attempts to keep him in check. If you're hoping there's a chance Andrew could part ways with Ashley and come out of this a good and clean person,
yeah, no.
Love the enthusiasm. Never gonna happen.
The archaic relationship, the dichotomy between understanding and repulsing these two, is the brand of unique horror that makes this series so compelling. In the midst of all the edgy overtones lies a masterful display of human error portrayed by the internet's favorite pair of maladjusted freaks.
You know what? I don't want any part of that. Let's move the hell on to the silver medal. It's number 2.
That content warning isn't exaggerating. This segment is going to be tackling some extremely heavy topics. I'll do my best to be respectful about it, but this is
Yeah, this is well, y'all have free will. Do what you want.
Frankly, one of the most disgusting characters in gaming, and it's more than deserving of its
well, you've been warned.
You have been warned. Mouthwashing, if you haven't heard of it, it's an indie horror game that completely shook everyone with its horrific visuals and even more horrific subject matter. If you have heard of it, you know exactly where this is headed.
Yeah,
in a future where OSHA seems to have been abandoned for the
I didn't actually think it was going to be mouthwashing. Okay.
sake of profit, you're met with a crew of an interstellar shipping company that just went bankrupt and are left to deal with the consequences of their sudden lack of employment. If that's not bad enough, the ship is sabotaged and crashes into a meteor, critically wounding the captain, Curly, and leaving everything in charge of your character, Jimmy. And let's get this out of the way first. Jimmy caused the crash. But if that's all he did, he would not be this high up, nor will he have the reputation he did.
No.
There's a reason why he did it, and as he takes command, you're forced to watch as Jimmy makes everything in the situation worse. Brutalizing Curly, manipulating the young and impressionable Daisuke, and making the ship's nurse Anya extremely uncomfortable. Through flashbacks, we learn more about Jimmy, how he was only hired due to being friends with Curly, who let him cheat the whole evaluation process, even ignoring some obvious red flags with the excuse that Jimmy will be Jimmy. After mismanaging things to the point where the crew is forced to drink mouthwash to survive, Jimmy starts hallucinating and seeing the message, "Take responsibility," everywhere. What does he have to take responsibility for? Well, here's where things go from bad to unforgivable. Anya locks herself in the med bay and Jimmy is furiously screaming at her, and a flashback reveals that before the crash, she confided with Curly that she was suddenly pregnant, and Curly should know who the father was. Judging by context clues,
of course,
it wasn't consensual. Anya ends up taking her own life, and Jimmy's recklessness costs the lives of the other crewmates, leaving just him and Curly left. Throughout all of it, Jimmy is trying everything to shift the blame because taking responsibility in his eyes means doing everything in his power to avoid any consequences for his
this
actions.
game was crazy.
Left with a single emergency cryopod, Jimmy forces Curly into it. Curly's helpless to watch as Jimmy's convinced that he fixed everything and uses the gun to do what Curly should have done the moment Anya told him what happened. Simply put, Jimmy is a violent, narcissistic sociopath with no regard for anyone but himself.
Yeah.
Playing as him is
terrible.
uncomfortable, and watching him get away.
I mean, damn, the game is good, but damn, is the game good.
With the most reprehensible crap imaginable is hard to watch for many, let alone to control. Ultimately, he's a coward. A spineless coward who'd rather doom his friend to a slow death alone in space than ever admit he was at fault.
Well, I mean, one good thing is that those cryopods have a 20-year life battery. And so 20 years to be found before he eventually is woken up and starves to death. On to the honorable mentions.
The Lamb, Cult of the Lamb. Look to the stupendium as to why. Trevor Phillips, GTA 5. Rockstar gave GTA fans a character that completely reflects how people play GTA. An unhinged maniac who goes on killing sprees at the drop of a hat. Fuminori Sayano Uda. This guy eats his former friend, and somehow it gets worse from there.
Oh,
Lucius from Lucius. Child of Lucifer isn't gonna open a hotel anytime soon. Tsukioka, Robot Alchemic Drive. Ruin your best friend's life or ruin other people's life for your best friend. Either way, you're awful.
Ooh. On to number 1. The gold medal.
When we play as the villain,
Louis.
it can almost feel like we're partially culpable for their actions. Sure, the story often railroads us into
we are the ones holding the controller.
Making these decisions, but...
or mouse and keyboard, depending on playstyle.
Sometimes it's worth thinking, if only this could have been prevented. If only we had just stopped. You know the old saying, everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story. Captain Martin Walker is defined by how far he's willing to go to be that hero.
Oh god,
and
we're
in
talking
doing
about
so,
this?
he sentences all of Dubai to damnation with him. Originally sent out to find survivors of a devastating sandstorm, Walker finds Dubai abandoned by its government and apparently under the thumb of fellow soldier John Conrad, who's been using fear to keep the populace in line. Walker ends up caught in the crossfire and forced to kill local militias and even fellow U.S. soldiers trying to survive. Argue self-defense all you want, but this was originally a recon mission. Walker's still killing people outside his orders. So when he ends up accidentally destroying the remaining water supply and also accidentally ends up bombing a civilian camp with white phosphorus, it becomes less and less possible to justify his actions. Walker's mind starts deteriorating more and more, especially once his squad mates start dying, and the game starts dropping some scary fourth wall breaks. But surely stopping Conrad is worth it. If Walker could just kill Conrad, at least he'll be redeemed as a hero. At least this mission wasn't for nothing. Except once you confront him,
that is
Conrad's
no Conrad.
just a long dead corpse. Conrad was dead from the beginning. Walker's been hallucinating him this entire time. All this time, he could have stopped. And the fourth wall breaks make it clear. All this time, you could have stopped. And you just didn't.
Oh, God.
Spec Ops The Line doesn't just pull this trick to shame the player for playing games. It pulls it to subvert the military shooter genre that was booming at the time. Instead of glorifying the violence on screen, using war as an action set piece where military heroes always save the day, Spec Ops The Line uses it to show the actual horrors of war, and uses Walker as a horrific point of view of the monsters it can create. It's one thing to have a character use any excuse necessary to commit atrocities. It's another thing entirely to have those atrocities put on the player's consciousness, and by using Walker as an allegory for the player, Spec Ops The Line creates a villain protagonist unlike any other.
Truly disastrous. Oh, no witty outtakes. Well, or anything. Well, okay. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Link will be down below. And I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.